All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our August Finance and Administration Committee meeting. I'll go ahead and get started. We have no public testimony today. We are going to play a little agenda hopscotch. We're going to begin with item number 11, resolution related to funding priorities on cycle 14 for traffic calming projects. We got Jackson Deese here.
Afternoon, council members. So this resolution was kind of born out of working with Mr. Wright and John Snyder and Adam McDaniel on what the best avenue for this would be. We kind of bounced around on whether it should be an SBO or an ordinance or a resolution. We settled on resolution, but nothing here is concrete, and I think sort of the guiding principle here is to give Transportation Commission some guidance on how much money council is willing to spend out of the traffic calming fund for this cycle, and then for what. You heard last week at PIES, John Snyder proposed with Colin the 27 by 27 network and spending some traffic calming money on that, which was approved in the 27 by 27 resolution that you all unanimously passed. And then in front of you, you have a printout that outlines how some of those 27 by 27 projects overlap with neighborhood traffic calming requests, sort of to get that nexus of traffic calming, even if it's not necessarily something the neighborhoods thought they asked for. Any questions on that or anything? Any discussion? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So is this a request specifically from the Transportation Commission? Is that something that they're specifically asking council, hey, give us money so we can do these projects? Or is this something from a council member wanting to do that?
Yeah, it's the second option of like council direction on saying, Transportation Commission, here's how much money we're willing to give you guys. Use your expertise to tell us what projects you think are good.
Councilmember Sapone has his hand up. Go ahead, Councilmember Sapone.
You're on mute. You might have to request him to unmute.
I apologize. Councilor Cathcart, were you finished? Do you have more follow-up? You can go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and then we'll go to
I guess I'm just trying to understand more. So is it to fund all of these projects that are here? Is it to fund maybe some of them? What's the timing? You know, we've already done traffic calming and spent those dollars for 25, 26. Are we suggesting that this would be a part of that or replace something? Or is this further down the road after 26? And then what's the plan with the existing traffic calming projects that are on the list or that have been brought to our attention?
Sure, yeah. So all of the projects on that printout you have there are from the projects that John and Colin presented at PIES last week. It's the stretch of Longfellow from Shadle to Market, Adams from 4th down to 27th, and then 27th from Adams to Hatch, and then Hatch up to the Ben Burr Trail.
And are these projects that would take place after the next two tranches that we funded, basically this year's and then 26's, and this would take place in 27? Is this replacing?
I think it's part of the cycle 14, which I think would be adaptive 26 and permanent 27, I believe.
Okay, so I need to understand then what would change in 26. But fundamentally, I will just say, unless there's an actual connection to traffic calming, which is something I hear a ton about, and not in these types of places, not in arterials. It's more on the residential streets where people want that and where we're not really producing those traffic calming options. So if it's not going to reduce traffic load, if it's not going to minimize it in those residential areas in particular, I'm not likely to support it, especially given that, you know, we have very little money in this fund. The legislature's already screwed with our ability to ticket. And so it's just, we're kind of in a challenging spot.
Sure. I hear all of that. I will say that a lot of these projects, like the Longfellow and Adams projects, those are more residential, less arterial streets for the safety aspect of them.
Sure, but that's not my district.
And sure, yeah, the Longfellow one from Division to Market there would be in your district. And part of those have already been funded through SRTC grants. And so the traffic calming one would be funding, I think it's PHB's further out from the Division intersection of Longfellow, because that is where the SRTC funding went.
And I do see Councilmember Zapone's off mute. Did you want to help clarify? No. Sorry, apologize, we can't hear you.
Chair, while we're waiting on Councilmember Zapone to be able to speak to us, does John Snyder have anything else to add to this conversation or clarity on some of the questions that Councilmember Cathcart had asked?
Also, the capacity building that was brought up last week, that's going to take a significant amount of money, and so trying to understand how that all interacts with this proposal.
So thanks for those questions. So when I came on in February, you had passed the 27 by 27 resolution. And I kind of felt part of my work here was really to help actualize the vision that you had supported in that resolution. So in the resolution, traffic calming was listed as one of, I think, 3 potential funding sources for 27 by 27 construction. So bringing forward these projects, for the cycle 14, which would be the 2027 construction season, so not changing any of the approvals you've already done on previous lists. This would, and there is, I would argue there is a lot of residential benefit potentially in some of the 20 by 27 projects. Some of them are going to not just increase crossings, but they're also, there's a potential, depending on which treatment we use, there's a chance to limit kind of cut through traffic depending on if we use diverters in certain locations. So as far as the capacity, I think you're talking about the fund capacity.
No, I'm talking about capacity in terms of capacity building. You said we're going to significantly increase the number of projects per year, which takes either more staff, more contracting out, a whole lot of things that we can't afford today, and I'm still trying to understand how we're going to afford it tomorrow.
So 2 parts of that, the money and the capacity. For the capacity part, I have talked with engineering, I've talked with ICM, and they felt comfortable at that $5 million level for a single year cycle. Above that, it was going to be tricky.
That's not much of an increase in capacity, though. We've been doing 5 million cycles.
So I think the last few years it's been 3.5. So it's a bit more than we have done in the past, from what I understand. So they felt comfortable with that number. And it's when talking to Nick Zollinger and folks in finance, when they looked at the fund balance, they felt comfortable with that number as well. Now, if we don't get new cameras on fast enough, that could mean that we would have a significant drop off, maybe down to about $1.5 million the following year for cycle 15 in 2028. But that's just the trade-off of trying to fulfill your vision.
Councilor Zapone, and then Councilor Klisky.
All right, can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
All right, great, thanks. I think some more context to go back here is important. So if we remember, like my first year on council, we passed the 4-year project list of things for traffic calming. And that concludes next year at the end of 2026, will have been the 4-year cycle of projects and requesting of projects. Then council passed the updated to the traffic calming ordinance, which was the Safe Streets for All ordinance, which does talk specifically about different types of interventions that are can be used for this fund. And so that falls under the safe systems approach, which talks about safe streets, safe uses for all road users, safe people, and safe speeds. And so this does allow its permissible uses for that under the council direction. And we are kind of at a spot where the ordinance, when we passed it, creating the Transportation Commission, did not have the commission make recommendations specifically around the funding. They're really making recommendations around projects. So they're needing some guidance on how much funding is available every year. I would like to start looking into an ordinance that would create kind of the buckets of what that funding would be, but that would take a little bit more time than they're needing for this next cycle of it. But buckets being how much is set aside for administration and admin fees, how much is set aside for permanent projects, how much is for adaptive projects, how much is for bicycle infrastructure, how much is for maintenance. I think right now it's all kind of been one, and we've seen that repeatedly from council requests for this funds, and times that different departments have tried to pull from that fund to balance the budget on policing, for example. And so an ordinance would create more direction, and that's really from council's role is to provide that direction so then the Transportation Commission can make some recommendations. This specific resolution is talking about what is the allocated amount. If you remember the last year and 2 years, we downward revised our dollar amount for what to use from that fund. It was originally proposed around that $5 million fund, right? And then there was some state legislation that was creating uncertainty. So we downward revised that to more around that $3 million fund. So there's some amount in the reserves there, and that's what John was talking about of how much is in reserves, or not reserves, but how much is the fund to balance, and what we would be willing, our council, to allocate for the next year's construction projects for permanent projects in 2027 and 2026 adaptive projects. And just a reminder, we did commit to a 4-year cycle. That 4-year cycle is complete. There's been lots of projects that have been completed from that 4-year cycle, but we do hear a lot from neighborhoods that they have no way to actually get new projects in the queue either. And so there's discussions about how do we revamp that process so you can have ongoing requests for projects to be scored around safety and issues around that. So I think this is something that we were trying to provide direction to the Transportation Commission on what to explore.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Klitzky, and then back to Councilmember Cathcart.
Thank you. Speaking of the history on some of this stuff, I'm not sure what you're hearing from your neighborhood councils now, but I was on the PEC committee when we first started these traffic calming projects and this whole funding source. And at the time, Roland LaMarche was chair and I was the secretary, and we were tasked with creating the guidebook on this. And we were told by engineering that we cannot do anything on arterials because that's not traffic calming, that's traffic control. And so they wouldn't let us propose any projects on arterials. But at the time, we were having to push back to our fellow neighborhood councils and say, no, we can't do anything on arterials. But what people wanted was safety around where they walk and bike. And so I think that we might have put our thumbs on the scales early on when we started this whole program by telling people they couldn't do anything on or near arterials. But some of these projects, like I went to Rogers High School, and Perry was the street I walked on to get to Rogers High School. I can see why that connectivity, but I was coming from pretty far away. I was coming from all the way just south of Bridgeport up Perry. So it's a long walk, and there's a lot of improvement that is needed, but that is where people organically bike and walk, because it's not an arterial, but it's almost an arterial there. And same thing with Lidgerwood. I went to Longfellow Elementary, and that was a street that folks used quite a bit to get around. So I think what the 20/27 is doing is trying to address larger connectivity issues as well as individual traffic calming concerns. And if you see it as a larger network helping people get farther through their neighborhoods with other modes of transportation, it's actually could save lives and really improve quality of life in some of these neighborhoods. So this has a long and complicated history, how these projects played out, and I think we've been frustrating neighborhoods quite a bit over the years through this, but we've never been more strategic or more open-minded about these projects than we are now. And so it's a great opportunity to really get a lot of bang for a buck if we do these, and if we are able to increase revenue with new cameras and things, we can continue thinking in this larger scale and engaging the neighborhoods to think bigger and more ambitiously, which is something we absolutely stopped them from doing when this program started, much to my chagrin, but we also had less money. So it's somewhat understandable, but I think now we're getting engineers to be more open-minded to considering community feedback on arterials, which was absolutely not okay with them years ago because citizens were not, in their minds, qualified enough to be weighing in on those things. And now we're starting to listen to people more. So I think this is a step in the right direction.
Councilor Cathcart?
Yeah, I mean, that's all good. I vote for the 27 by 27 because I think there's a lot of positive things to come of this. The question is, do we use traffic calming funds, or, as I will get reminded, I'm sure that it's now called Safe Streets. But that's fundamentally the question. And so a couple of things with that. We did downgrade the amount that we were allocating, but part of that was because we had agreed to fund a bunch of staff people to do plowing and other things. And so there's budget capacity that's taken up with some of that. We've also talked and yet have not done a thing with setting aside dollars for maintenance. Maintenance is always the thing that you don't fund, that you put off because it's not sexy. It's not the thing people are all, it's not a new shiny thing. But if we're not funding maintenance, especially when we're talking about adaptive design that's going to get, probably pretty beat up over time, I think we're fundamentally making a mistake. And so we've got to be setting aside money. And if we've got money in reserves, those are dollars that we should be thinking about allocating for maintenance, not just spending away today because we can. We have talked about for a while and still have no policies, and I've heard nothing from the Transpo Commission on if they've established policies around it, but when are we going to do adaptive versus permanent? What does that look like? Is my district going to get adaptive and a different district permanent? Is a certain kind of project going to be adaptive and a different kind permanent? Are they all going to be adaptive and then switch to permanent over time? There's none of that. And I can't agree to a whole lot of things until I fundamentally know what that policy is going to be. Because for me, if I'm going to put bike lanes in place, I don't want white paint because that's not safe. I'm never going to let my kid ride a bike in a painted bike lane. I think that's silly. I want a protected bike lane. It can be adaptive. We can have, planters and things that are actual, functionally separate and protect, but little, strips of plastic that you can drive through is not. And I've heard that brought up a million times as adaptive. To me, that's not. It's a waste of money. And so those are the questions I fundamentally have. Are we talking about protected bike lanes or unprotected bike lanes? Are we talking about, and if they are protected, what kinds of protections? What length of the bike lane is going to be protected? Is it the entirety? Is it just a portion of it? Those are all questions I need to have answers to before I'm going to say, yes, spend away the little bit of money that we have. Because, look, I know everybody is motivated to put cameras up, and I know somebody will disagree with me here, but there's motivation to put cameras up the last 4 years, and it hasn't happened. So is it going to happen next year, the year after, the year after? I don't know. But we've got to preserve the money we have and do the things we've committed to doing. And what I hear a whole lot more than bike lanes in particular is the, a-hole car flying through the residential street at 50 miles an hour, stop sign or not, they're just flying through. And so what are we doing to slow them? A bike lane, how does that slow that vehicle down? It doesn't. And so that's the thing I'm hearing, right? We've got cars that are ripping through Longfellow, actually literally is one of the streets, and we're not putting in humps or any sort of infrastructure that's going to force them to slow down in any sort of meaningful way. And so I just want answers to those questions. I want to be able to go out with a straight face to my constituents and say, hey, this is going to make everybody safer because the cars are getting slowed. Bike lanes will make the bike potentially bicyclists safer, but that doesn't necessarily slow the vehicles. So that's where I'm at.
Sure, okay. Can I try my best to respond?
Quickly, and then Councilor Klitsky and Councilor Bengal.
Okay. Yeah, to your point about maintenance, 100%, I think we agree on that. It was part of the discussion we were trying to have on whether it should be like an SBO or an ordinance and changing the actual traffic calming fund code to be X amount of dollars or X percentage of traffic calming fund is dedicated to maintenance. And I think we're going to continue to have that discussion with administration figuring that sort of stuff out. To your point about the adaptive stuff, I think that also could be something to put policy-wise into what should be adaptive and what should not be, and also sort of giving that guidance to the Transportation Commission on what is acceptable for adaptive and what is not. Curb bump outs could be more adaptive, and those, you can do a lot more of those for the same amount that you can do one permanent concrete bump out, right? And then with your point about the one car that goes 50 miles, like down Longfellow, I think there's an argument to be made about it's a yes and situation of, yeah, you put in the bike lanes and the pedestrian infrastructure down Longfellow. You know, bike lanes narrow the roads, that makes people go slower. They see people using the roads more who are vulnerable, makes them think twice. But then also, it could be also a yes and of, okay, yeah, then we will use adaptive money to put speed humps and speed tables on Longfellow also. Like, I don't think it's necessarily a either or situation.
Councilor Klitzky and then Councilor Bingle.
Thank you. I think you're raising good questions, Councilmember Cathcart, and I think that there's two things I would like to see in response to that. First of all, I think our street bond is our maintenance fund, and if it's inadequate, then we need to think about what else we're going to do about that. The costs are rising, we can't deny that, and so that be something we should discuss more seriously as a larger strategy. I really think that when we're doing these innovative design things and doing the traffic calming, I don't think it was anticipated that once those projects were designed and built, that they would get left out in the cold when it comes to the larger maintenance. So I feel like we should really be addressing that part in the street bond, but I agree with you, we have to maintain them. As far as the adaptive stuff, I think a lot of what you're talking about, we could just do better with better technologies like the speed tables, which we could definitely do, and like armadillos instead of candlesticks maybe. I don't know how much more expensive armadillos are, but we've all seen candlesticks are kind of just a temporary solution. They get smashed. They do. So I think all of those points are well taken, and maybe we should do a workshop with the Transportation Commission and just talk about what our guiding principles should be for some of these concepts.
Councilor Bingle, and then I am going to want to just get us moving. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
I actually don't have a comment on this at all. I have a comment about some issues I raised last week, and just wanted to say thank you to John Snyder and Inga Note for being so gracious with me. Last week I had a sheet of paper that was 2/3 complete, not 100% complete, and I made some comments and assumptions on 2/3 of the information, and so thank you, John and Inga. Sorry for doing that. It's a good reminder to make sure we have all the information before we say what we say, so thank you, guys.
Any additional questions, commentary? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate the discussion. All right, we're going to go back up to item number 1, Skylar Brown, partnership grant for MLK Junior Family Outreach Center, HVAC renovation. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. On the 17th, at the budget meeting, we kind of talked about looking at partnerships with outside organizations, with nonprofits, and seeing things that can help the community by helping them. This is, and we went and adjusted the SMC to notify you all when we decided to kind of go out on one of these applications. This is the first one we're actually doing since then. Cole Wicker, my grant writer here, has found a grant that we can apply for through the Bulger Foundation. It's for up to $250,000, and we are going to try to apply with Martin Luther King Center for the HVAC for the full amount. See what we can get. It's due next Thursday, or this Thursday. We're going to try to submit it. It's due Monday. Do you guys have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, so we just adopted a new sort of grant process, and so could you just talk about that a little bit and how it's been particularly with community organizations and going out and helping?
Yeah, so we just put the SMC through that we are going to, partner with organizations, see things that can help them that we can't apply for ourselves. So like the Bulger Foundation only will go to nonprofits, but the Community Center HVAC is a city-owned building that's ran by the Martin Luther King Center and needs to be replaced. And so allowing for us to work with them, help them write and partnership in the grant, it helps both agencies in order to, get a HVAC in this case. And other agencies, we're kind of putting it out there. This is kind of our first trial to see if there's other things that this can assist in. There's a lot of, we'll say, homeless funding even that nonprofits can go for, but they don't have the infrastructure to manage. And then hopefully on the same end, we have reached out to MRSC. We got guidance on whether that they can basically hire us and assist in our staffing costs and administration-wise in order to help facilitate the community need.
Yeah, if if I remember correctly, I thought the cost for replacing the HVAC was like $750 range. Is that true? And if not,
No, the cost I'm showing is $268,000.
okay, so this grant will essentially fix the HVAC.
It essentially besides $18,000, which in our application, we have said that we would cover, the city would cover to help the cost. But at the same time, Cole has been looking for alternative sources. So we're looking for other grants as well that can hopefully come in and assist and be matched to that. Because there's no saying we're going to get 250. Let's say they give us 60,000. Well, he has a couple others that are due in the next. There's one due in October. And there's another one due, I think, in November. And so looking at all these applications that we can possibly keep going for to continue to get the money and get the matching needs we need as well.
Well, I'll just say, I mean, if this was a private owner, we would be condemning them for the way that, you know, they're maintaining the facility. I'm not joking, we would
Yeah,
be. And this has been an issue, not just this year, but for almost 4 years that this has been an issue, and we have not solved it yet. So I think it's got to be a priority that we make this happen, grant or no grant.
And I agree. And we're looking at other sources as well. This is just one that we can get to right now, and it can hopefully cover a big chunk pretty quick. So we'll know in 6 to 8 weeks on this one.
Council President?
Thank you. So my question is, being in the grant world myself, was this grant initiated from us, or MLK came to us to partner with them? So where did this actually start? And then what's the high probability? Because like you said, we may not get all of it, may get part of it. And so I'm looking for a plan B for the MLK Center, because we have kicked this can down the road for 4 years, probably plus. And so I don't think, as a good landlord, that we're just hanging our hat just on grant monies alone.
Yeah, so this was initiated by us. Cole has been researching, looking for anything that can do capital-oriented for HVACs or community centers in general. So it did start by us. Matt Boston came up. He probably wants to speak to some of the other parts as well before I dive into it.
No, I mean, just to give you a quick answer for the overlying theme, I think I'm hearing, and ultimately, yes, we are finding the solution for the HVAC system this year. We are turning over every couch cushion. This is just one of the attempts that we're making. Obviously, it's innovative in its approach. It's something that the city has never done before, is to partner with a third-party agency where we're joint partners in this grant funding. But that's not our only solution. We are going to find a solution, and it's going to happen by the end of the year.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What's your capacity like? So we're working on MLK right now, which is great for all the reasons that have been described. We're working with MLK. What are the other organizations we're working with? Is this something where it's like we can handle 15 in a month, or we can do 30 in a month, or what is that sort of capacity for you and your team?
I think that also depends on the organization and the level. So MLK doesn't have the capacity to manage something like this. But once again, depending on how we get the funding, let's say they get the funding and they give it to us, it'll be our facilities team that'll actually manage all the capital construction and all of that. So it wouldn't be on them, and it needs to be, because it's going to be a public works project. And so for us, a foundation's not going to have a federal requirements. There's not going to be a whole lot that we probably have to report to them. It's going to be, you know, this cost has been completed. This is the steps. Here's the completion. So I have a grants analyst in my department who would probably manage that portion of it for her. And I say her because Frida over at MLK, sorry. But I don't foresee this being a huge lift to my team, and Cole's continually, that's his entire gig, is find us grants, find us for anything that we're missing and looking for funding for. Kind of like one of the things he's looking for currently, he's looking for some of the stuff for the energy audits that are going on. Can we help on the energy audits, the capital, et cetera? So he's continuing to looking for those resources, and then depending on the need of the agency, if we partnered with a larger organization, they're going to have an accounting team and all of that can manage and handle the compliance requirements. So I think it really depends. And also, if the public works are involved, it brings a whole nother aspect. If it's federal, you're going to have Davis-Bacon, whole nother aspect. And so I think it depends kind of on what we're doing. But right now, yeah, that's why we put the grant resource page up there. Anyone knows anything or needs anything, reach out. If you have agencies or outside nonprofits that need help, they can reach out to you and reach out to us, and we'll look for it for you and work with them.
Councilmember Lambton?
Yeah, thanks. I think the idea of partnering for some of those external grants is great and really innovative. My comment is more specifically, I think, to the MLK Center and the HVAC system. I think to Councilmember Cathcart's point around this being an ongoing issue there, and really just a comment on the fact that it's been a really big hindrance to the programming for that community. So part of what I'm wondering is if there's the opportunity to forecast out on some of these bigger issues with some of our city-owned properties, knowing that this is an older building. We're continuing to see a lot of things pop up, and the HVAC system is a high cost, but there's also been programming that hasn't been able to operate in that center due to this. So really more of a comment around that. And then I think going back to this grant funding and looking outward and finding other opportunities. Again, I think it's great that we're looking at a bunch of new revenue sources potentially by getting innovative with grants, because that's really just the landscape that we're operating in right now. I would just add, and it sounds like you all are already considering this, but really ensuring if you are working with some of these smaller nonprofit organizations that they have the capacity and infrastructure to do any of the reporting requirements that are going to be required for some of these grants, because that would really, I think, make or break this structure long-term for those city partnerships.
And that's one of the things that we're doing, because since we're the ones helping assist to write the application and do the grant and be the partnership, is there administration? Can we cover our staffing costs to get it back in order for us to assist? And if this grows large, obviously, yeah, if we're getting enough administration, we can show that we need support or more staff back to this level. But right now, we don't. We just need to see, does this work? Will it assist? Can it help? I mean, it just happens, and I'm sorry this issue has been ongoing, but it just happens that this is a good example for us to test the waters. Is this something we can do, and will this be beneficial? And do you want to address the other part?
Yeah, let me just piggyback off the other one. So yeah, this effort actually came from the ARPA funds. So the ARPA funding, and now this individual is actually within Skylar's team, is Caleb Stanton. Caleb Stanton did a lot of work with educating small organizations, small not-for-profit organizations within Spokane that previously had a hindrance in getting any sort of funding, whether it be city, federal, state funding. And so he went on a large educational campaign of not only how to apply for City of Spokane funding, but also the hand-holding that went on after the fact for the reporting for the ARPA funding, which without question is cumbersome, and it's super hard to navigate if you're new to it. So that's where we started, and that's kind of where we are right now, is that education, is that hand-holding on the administrative side of things to make sure that we're not losing money, but also not gaining money. It's a mutual benefit for both the organization and the city as well. As it relates to the facility side of things, Councilmember Cathcart, and as well, Councilmember, nice to meet you, by the way. We haven't met officially yet. It is something ongoing that we have when we're looking at our overall portfolio, especially when it comes to community centers where we have a partnership, that there's a maintenance agreement within it, but knowing that those organizations that are within those facilities have a finite amount of funding. So what we're looking at in the 26, 27, and moving on is how we can better budget for that moving forward on a cost per square foot, what that looks like for kind of an ongoing capital fund for them, even though that we're needing to maintain those buildings as well, and that's one of the big things, as I think Councilmember Cathcart was talking about. So we're having those conversations with the different community centers, with our facilities, because we know that is part of our overall financial portfolio as well. It's definitely something that we're focused on moving forward.
And I would love, Skylar, again, I know you were talking about capacity depends on the organization that we're working with. I would love a more definitive answer from that. And you don't have to give that today, but if you could, follow up with me and just say, here's what we think we can do. Because I'm very interested in your work. This is something I've been advocating for since, my entire time on council, because this is a revenue generating department that I think is really good for us, particularly in tight budget situations where we can be, again, bringing in more money without raising taxes. And so I'm very interested in the success of your department and want to make sure that you're fully staffed and given all the tools necessary to be successful. One of the things I've heard today that does make me a little nervous is what I don't want the city of Spokane to become is the infrastructure for every nonprofit in the city of Spokane. The MLK Center is a direct benefit to the city of Spokane because that is our building, and so that makes perfect sense to me to be partnering with those organizations. What I don't want it to be is that a lot of, for example, homeless nonprofits are now getting taxpayer subsidized help for them to approach grants that don't necessarily have a direct benefit to the taxpayer when it comes to facilities or services or anything else like that. So I would love to see that more focus on everything city related there. And I'm certainly not saying that that's what you guys are doing, but really excited about your department. Hope that it can be very successful. And please update me with your capacity and all the ways that you guys could be more successful if this works out, if you had more to work with.
Yeah, and I do have like 2 examples of those. We just did one recently that was submitted with Catholic Charities. And Catholic Charities did a lot of legwork on the application. Cole did the other parts of it, and they put it together, and we submitted it. And that was, I don't, Cole could probably speak to more what the actual the building is that they're purchasing and remodeling, et cetera. But that one, we do add administration dollars in there, so it will come through the CHHS department. If it does get landed, go out to Catholic Charities in partnership, and we did get administration dollars, and Catholic Charities will do all the heavy lifting. We will do the monitoring of the award and the compliance through the CHHS department. And then another one we've looked at is with the Novia Foundation, I believe it is. Do you want to come speak to that one? Because that's another one they're currently looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, y'all. So last week, 2 weeks ago, we met with Innovia Foundation and Inland Northwest to talk about a more structured partnership with the possibility with the city of supporting grant writing opportunities with their scholarship funds and even the possibility of an MOU with Spokane Public Schools. We're not promising this yet, but just brainstorming what they need from us and how we can support them. A few weeks ago, I met with Spokane Arts, which has, an interesting relationship already established with the city. So these conversations with nonprofits right now are typically with organizations the city already has some sort of working relationship with. We have opened up that conversation of what it would look like to support additional nonprofits. We have not reached out to small organizations that would need us to do the entirety of the legwork. I think that's been a big part of the conversation so far is how are we benefiting the city, as explicitly as possible in times where the budget matters, right?
All right, Councilor Cathcart and then Councilor Bingle, then I'm going to wrap us up.
Yeah, just really quick. I mean, Catholic Charities, public schools, they've got a ton of infrastructure, a ton of resources. I don't understand how it benefits the city for us to do all the work for them on grant writing. So maybe we can get a better detailed presentation on what those grants do and for and what our legwork is.
Definitely. It comes back to kind of the original thing of this, of Catholic Charities is not eligible to apply. It has to go through a city before it can go to a nonprofit. Or for like in this case, the city's not eligible to apply. It has to go through a nonprofit before it comes to the city. So it's utilizing the resources that are available to help the community of who's actually can go there, but also making sure, like Matt said, we're not losing money, we're covering staff costs and time, but also benefiting the community as a whole.
And really quick to Council President's point about MLK, these issues do go back actually to about 2015 at least, because Councilmember Allen was on this council trying to secure funding at that time for HVAC issues. And so this isn't a new thing, but I would also just point out for Matt, I don't know if you know, but Frida has identified or articulated to me a number of things that were issues when they moved in that were prior issues that they've had to fund to fix. And so they have, I think, taken on some burden that perhaps should have been the city's burden at the beginning. So.
All right, Councilor Bingle.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off of that too. Again, Spokane Public Schools, has plenty of infrastructure. Catholic Charities has plenty of infrastructure. Again, I would like us to be more city focused in that regard. That is, again, something that is on the back of the taxpayer, like a facility, like something else like that, finding grants for police or fire stations or something like that. That is what I'm most interested in and excited about because, again, this is something that I think we could do more of. But again, like I said, if it turns out that what we're funding is infrastructure to help Catholic Charities, that's where I'm all out on that.
So we do reach out to, we have other departments reaching out to us. Yeah. We reach out to them. We've been having communication with other departments. That's why we put it on our webpage, like reach out to us. We check grant pages daily, trying to find anything, and we reach out to department heads and see what we can do. Yeah. So we are trying.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And what we'll do is we'll have a for a future agenda item, we'll have just a deeper discussion, I think, around grant report strategy and kind of clarify some of that. But excited this is moving forward again, as we've had 2 town halls at the East Central Community Center, and the public has sweated it out with us each night. Long overdue and excited. Fingers crossed.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Benefit plan performance update. Allison Adam, come on down.
Good afternoon. I think Jenny's working to pull up. Perfect. So I'm going to just start talking a little bit about what the benefit plan update is about. Every year at about this time, the benefits and HR team, as well as finance, looks at our plan's performance to see where we are compared to our budget, so that we can plan for the upcoming calendar year. That is our plan year for the benefits. This is the time that we start doing open enrollment determinations, start talking with unions about premiums, et cetera. For those of you that are newer to the council, and for those of you that maybe don't have the recollection, we are what's called self-insured for our benefit plans. So the way self-insured works is we partner with 2 different TPAs, Premera and Kaiser. Those 2 TPAs, they process our claims. They also Perfect, thank you. They process our claims, and they help to negotiate lower rates when we go to medical offices, et cetera. But we as the city actually are paying those claims. So we take on the risk of the claims for the benefit plans. So we have what's called a reserve so that we can maintain our fluidity in those plans as we go through the year. So if you want to go to that next slide, thanks. Oh, there it is, thank you. There we go. The plan increase, just for historical perspective, this is what we've had as plan increases for premiums since 2018. This would pertain to the Guild, the police captains and lieutenants, 270, and MMP. So each of those are the unions that are covered under these plans. Fire is its own trust, so they're not part of this conversation and discussion. The last 3 years, those increases have been at 0%, mainly because as you look at this particular graph, you'll see the light blue aquamarine color, which is our budget. So that's a budget we get help from Alliant, our broker, in developing. And the dark line is our actual plan for performance, right? So our plan performance, each year we're hoping it aligns as closely as possible to what we've budgeted. 2020 is an anomaly. Everyone saw this dip in their plan performance, mainly because we were shutting down medical processes and procedures available, and then we saw a sharp increase. So that is an anomaly that you wouldn't normally see. So we want those 2 lines to be as aligned as possible through history. You'll also notice on the bottom, in 2018, our reserve at the end of the year was $16 million for our medical plans. The state requirement was $7.8 million. So what the state requires is that municipalities keep 4 months' worth of reserves so that we can pay our claims for 4 months in a reserve and keep that funded. As you move forward through those years, keeping in mind the premium increases that we've had, you'll see that our reserves maintained. In 2022, we were $18 million compared to the $9 million required. In 2024, it was lower at $13.6 million compared to $9.4 million required. And as we move forward to the next slide, you'll see last year, there we go. Last year we were at the same point, August of 2023 through July of 2024. Green bars mean our plan performance exceeded our budget, which meant we were putting money into our reserves during those months. And then you have months in which we're using our reserves. So we started to see some more red blocks. But in any given year, any 12-month period, we're expecting to see about 6 green months and 6 red months. That's typically what you will see when you're looking at plan performance. We had a premium holiday in July of 2024 intentionally because our reserves were so high. We were trying to give back to employees because we didn't need the reserves to be built up that much. And at this point in time, the reserve was approximately $16.5 million. This is what we have seen in the last 12 months. Unfortunately, our plan performance has been really hit by high claims. We've had a 124% loss in that 12-month period from July of 2024 until June of 2025. And they're for claims that are not going away. So a lot of times you have, a high month maybe because of a complicated birth that involves some NICU time and that type of thing. What we're seeing is not those types of claims, but ongoing claims that we anticipate will not end.
Can you give an example of one of those?
Yeah, so this is the biggest driver. It is pharmacy. We have a lot of pharmacy expenses, and we have a small number of employees or their dependents that are on what we call orphan drugs. Orphan drugs are things that help with gene therapy and other types of complicated diagnoses that the individual needs and that there's only really one option for. And they're extremely expensive. In one claim in particular, we're nearing $1 million for a one-year cost. So those can be really hard-hitting on a medical plan. So if you look at the right-hand bar, or right-hand chart, excuse me, the blue horizontal bars are Alliance book of business and where they have seen pharmacy. The dark blue bars rising up to those in 2021 and 2022, we were really well aligned with what they were seeing. 2023, we started exceeding it, and 2024 far exceeded what they had in pharmacy. So last week, I met with the union leadership to talk about the struggle that we have, because really to get these costs under control, we need to look at pharmacy options, and we're looking at potentially changing pharmacy benefit managers. It's really the only way that we can find based on what we're experiencing to help control the costs. But if you look at the actual costs, maybe, there we go. From 2023 to 2025, that delta between the plan performance and the budget means that right now we're at about $11.9 million reserve. We're expected by the end of the year that the state will want us to be at $10 to $12 million reserve, and we're already at that level. So by the end of the year, if we continue on this current trajectory, we'll be at about $8.6 million, which is below what's required by the state. We're currently trending about $600,000 pulled from our reserve on a monthly basis. So we have some work to do in order to balance the plan so that we're meeting the current claims. It would take a 36% increase in medical premiums. There's some work. Alliant has worked with other municipalities. We would have to negotiate with the state, so I've started the process of those conversations so that we can carry this over a few years rather than taking large hits. That 36% increase does not start to build the reserves. It would just help us to cover the claims that we currently have. So we're working on developing a multi-year plan. Matt and I will be meeting with the state and Alliant to have those conversations. We have to work with the unions to see if we can make a change in our pharmacy benefit manager. If we'd made that change, it would probably be for April, just based on timelines right now to get those changes in place. But we have to have everybody agree to make the change. We can't have one that wants to stay with the Premera as the pharmacy benefit manager. They all would have to make the decision that they want to go forward to make a change. Open for questions. Yes.
Could you just say again, what happens if we go under that threshold, the 10?
So under that threshold, that's a great question, because we asked the question of like, what happens? The state really wants to work with us. I mean, they have it at the 4-month level, so we can cover claims in their estimation for up to 4 months. And that's without taking any premiums in, right? So there's not a drastic hit. If we were to do nothing to try to correct it, if we weren't making those positive steps forward, I believe they can step in and make some decisions for us. And so we want to be in that driver's seat, and we want to have those conversations in advance of that.
Decisions like rates?
Yes, and other decisions, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't asked all of the questions as to what they would be able to, what they would be able to do.
Yeah, I have a few questions, but the holiday, did we approve that as council? Did we approve the?
It was part of the budget, and that was before my time. It was part of the budget in advance because the premium, if you look back at that point, it was a $19 million reserve.
Right.
So, and that was $2.5 million? total?
Yeah, roughly $3 million.
I think you had the number up there, yeah, 2.5 to 3 million.
2024 proposed budget was the holiday.
Okay. My next question is, what changed from 21 to 24 when we're looking at pharmacy costs?
So I think there's so many things, right? There's things that are happening at a national level from pharmacy expenses and the way that pharmacy companies cost these out to medical plans, et cetera. So there's some national things that happen. There's also things like children being born on a medical plan or hiring new individuals that perhaps they themselves or their dependents kind of have these expenses, or they're newly diagnosed with a particular medical condition. It's all of the above. It's kind of just a storm. This is highly unusual, but we do currently and none of these are like things where we see the end in sight. They're kind of lifelong situations.
I've got one more, but Councilmember Lambden probably has some insight here.
Councilmember Lambden and Councilmember Bingle.
So I have two questions, but my second question depends on your answer to the first question. Do you all have a sense from the state whether or not similar sized municipalities to Spokane are experiencing similar increases with pharmacy costs?
I have not yet had conversations with them to make that determination. Based on Alliance book of business and what they know what's happening, I mean, ours is kind of an outlier. I think a lot of municipalities and a lot of employers in general are seeing the increase in the pharmacy. That's really what's driving medical rates now. What used to be plan design is now pharmacy.
Yeah. Well, and I think potentially, depending on what Alliance perspective is on that, there might be some potential to work with Alliant and some other statewide groups on some advocacy around those pharmacy costs, specifically related to those specialty pharmacies. Because as you mentioned, this is on a federal level right now, those increases in costs. And if the state is going to continue to see this impacting municipalities across the state, there might be some leverage there to explore in utilizing Alliance expertise as well.
Councilmember Bingle.
Yes, so 36% increase is quite steep.
It is.
And so what does that mean in dollars and cents for our employees?
I think that's a great question. So first of all, we're hoping not to have 36%. We're hoping to have something this first year that's less than that. Each of the plans is so different and is controlled by the bargaining process. So I can't speak to what that looks like specifically for employees. We have some bargaining agreements that do not have an opener to talk about benefits, but we're still having the conversations because it's more impactful for other groups even, and in future years when we get to bargaining those particular contracts.
Well, I'll say I appreciate that approach. Going from 0 to 36% in 1 year would probably be pretty tough for a lot of our employees.
Agreed.
And so long as we have reserves that are above what's required, using that to smooth that transition, I think makes a lot of sense. And so I appreciate that approach. So long as, again, for the financial health of the city, we're maintaining those reserves, I think that'll be good. But thank you.
You bet.
Council President, then I'm going to close this
I'll
out.
just quickly ask, who is historically been Mike Ormsby, who had done the negotiations on a lot of our plans. So I guess that's falling to you, Allison, on that.
And specifically, Debbie, my deputy, she is going to be doing the labor management and negotiations, but it'll be, this particular conversation will be probably many of us having the conversation together.
And I'll just say anecdotally, in some of the other places I sit as part of the city, the rates have been between 8% and 14% increases. And that's for this coming year.
Well, and keeping in mind that the city has not fallen, we have had a very good trend. If you go back to those premium increases, I mean, the last 3 years have been 0%, which is not typical in the industry. Like other groups are seeing increases. We were just really blessed for so long and had such high reserves, those decisions were made.
One more question. Councilmember
One last quick question on that is, as we're looking at this 36% increase, compounding interest is not just addition. It would be great to know, had we increased rates in those years, what that would have looked like. So had we gone 4%, 4%, 4%, as opposed to 36 now, it might have been only a 7% increase or something. So,
But I think the difficult part of that is at some point you've put too much money in your reserves and you're taking money from people's pockets, and we never know that this year is going to happen. It is such, I've done HR stuff for more than 20 years. First time I've seen this.
Yeah, and I'm not saying anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you mind if I speak to that just briefly?
Absolutely, yeah.
So that was one of my questions when this first was kind of raised to my level. I know Alliant is in close contact with the team all the time and had been monitoring this, and through, starting in October of last year when things really started to take a turn, again, factors outside of our control. And just to be clear, we don't know any names, nor should we. So I want to be really clear about that. But I also want to be clear, we're talking about like less than 10 members of our plan that are driving a significant percentage of this cost increase. And it's just bad luck, pretty much. So, but in answer to that question, I just want to go back and say, it's easy to nitpick what prior administrations have done, and trust me, that was my first instinct, was to look at the recommended increases from Alliant and versus what was actually taken. And you're talking about 2 separate mayors' administrations before this. My first instinct was to say, well, shoot, they put us in this position. But the more I asked questions and the more I looked into it, I have to tell you, full honesty and transparency, I'm not sure I would have done anything different if I had been in their shoes, because each year when those recommendations came through, they were balancing the same factors. They were balancing the need to maintain the state mandated reserve, certainly, but the need also not to just let that reserve balloon out of control, because ultimately that's affecting employees' bottom line. So it's this balancing act, and we had been riding a wave of good luck. And unfortunately, that bubble burst last year.
And my point isn't for blame. My point
No,
is
I get that.
When we go to have the discussion with the bargaining units, we can say, had we not had this spate of good luck, then this amount would have been coming out of your paycheck and building up to this, probably a very similar spot of where we're going now. Unfortunately, this is the year that we have to do it. And so I think it'll be a lot easier for us to understand when we have that discussion.
No, and that's exactly the message that we conveyed to the bargaining units. It was a pretty unprecedented meeting, getting them all, we did it in here, getting all the heads, obviously not fire, but all the others in one room at the same time to convey this message. And I shared with them exactly what I've shared with you, that I, in good faith, just have to admit, having gone through it now with a fine-tooth comb, if I were in previous administration's shoes, I'm not sure I would have done anything that much differently. And unfortunately, this is just the situation we have.
And one of the union members actually brought that up and said, well, if we look historically, I'm doing the math here, I think we would have been at the same spot, right? So there's no way to predict that going forward, right? And what we're doing this year, I mean, it could turn out that we have some good luck in the next couple of years. And then we're like, well, why did we do that? Because we had to, and you just never know what exactly the year holds in front of you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, special budget ordinance, criminal justice assistance fund solvency. Mr. Matt Boston.
I can actually probably do all 3 if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I can let Jessica off the hook. But working backwards, actually going to the claims fund, similarly, we are self-insured in our claims funds for risk, workers' comp, and unemployment. We are seeing higher than normal activity on those funds as well. Some of the risk is larger liability claims, workers' comp, obviously, self-explanatory, and unemployment driven a little bit by the layoffs from prior year. So 3 that we just have to adjust the expenditure on those sides. And then any questions on that one? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can you explain why we're going to take that out of reserves when we are just hanging on to our AA rating right now, and that could go away?
So this isn't coming from any specific, this isn't coming from a general fund reserve. This is coming, no. This is coming from those specific self-insured reserves. Similar to the same with the medical insurance, has its own reserve that it's pulling from.
Okay.
But based on what we saw from previous activity, we said, okay, this is probably going to be the activity for next year. Not knowing all things, we've seen an uptick since then.
Have we had to pull from those reserves in the at least recent past?
I'd have to look back to see everything that we've pulled. I mean, I know that there's been, especially from the risk on the liability side of things, that we pull from reserves. Again, similar to self-insurance, for anything within the city, we allocate it out to all the different departments that are essentially paying into it. And I'll have to see when the last time that we've done an SBO for those reserve dollars.
My last question is, according to the briefing paper, some of this, or at least a lot of it, has to do with layoffs and folks leaving the city as to why we're seeing this increase, correct? And is that
Yeah,
much?
I would say the unemployment for sure.
Sure.
Unemployment for sure. The risk and the workers' comp, not as much.
And so what portion is the unemployment? Is that the 800?
Jessica, do you have it off? I've got to look at the briefing paper. Hold on one sec.
Fundamentally, what I'm asking is, we laid off, obviously, or not laid off, we encouraged early retirement for a number of officers.
Yep.
And I would love to see, with these dollars included, what has been the full cost of those early retirements relative to cost savings. There's constantly little bits more that it's costing us, and I don't think we've gotten a full sort of understanding of the breadth of what that cost us.
Yeah, and I
Or
just
saved
want to
us.
clarify, anybody who does retire is not eligible for workers' compensation. So workers' compensation has to be a separation from employment that is employer initiated. So if, for example, in the SSP, a officer voluntarily retires, right?
Okay.
They're pulling from retirement benefits. They don't have eligibility for workers' compensation
So then where
benefits.
did the layoffs occur? Because we didn't really issue layoffs last year.
We did. We issued,
couple
I
in
think,
Reprographics.
I think altogether there was about 6 of them throughout the entirety of 2024. 3 of them happened at the tail end during the budget process. I think 3 of them were a little bit earlier in the year.
Okay. And those 6 are contributing towards this increase?
I can't speak to specifics on it because those, again, we go down with names and that's, I think, confidential information. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only driving force is that separation
I'm
of
going to
employment.
ask you to follow up with Councilmember Cathcart
Yeah,
on these
absolutely.
questions, and let's get back to the Criminal Justice Fund, reprographics, and
Sure.
transfers claims.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the other 2, obviously, criminal justice and reprographics. Criminal justice, this is something that we've talked about at length over the last several months. The Criminal Justice Assistance Fund, for everybody's just own recollection, is a special revenue fund that previously had, and still does to this day, funds the jail costs. In about 2021, 2022 era, there was a large surplus in those accounts where additional expenses outside of the jail bill were housed in that special revenue fund. On a per year basis, that generates anywhere between $6.5 and $7 million. What we're seeing in last year was a bill that passed $7 million. What we're likely to see in 2025 is a bill that is encroaching $10 million. So not only do we have to find the delta to house the expenses that are specific to jail costs, but we also have to find a funding source for the other expenses that were in there. The Axon contract within PD is one of them that was previously housed in there. There are some interpreter costs for the courts that are also in there. Ultimately, those are general fund departments, so they have to go to the general fund, and that just puts further strain on the general fund. We do have some positive surplus within that, so we're pulling from that. And then we're also moving a little bit for the community safety sales tax. There was traffic enforcement, as you all remember, for the community safety sales tax, and we're pulling those dollars out for motorcycles for PD, which was part of their original proposal. And then if there's no questions on that one, I can go to the reprographics.
Go ahead.
Okay, reprographics being next. Reprographics department was not in the budget for 2025-26. It has continued ongoing operations since then. There have been collective bargaining union conversations that have happened since the inception of the budget. They are still ongoing, but in the meantime, since we have expenses going through there, we have to capture those expenses within the reprographics department as well as the revenues. So it's a pretty de minimis number, and we're just capturing that for 2025.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it might be somewhat de minimis, but council voted on a budget that removed this department, and I don't understand how we can continue to operate a department, certainly without notification to council that there's sort of this technical legal issue with the collective bargaining stuff in the background, which I've heard some murmurings, but there's never been a direct conversation on that. So that's frustrating to me because are we going to start just inventing new departments without a budget? I mean, that's the precedence that this is sort of establishing.
I can understand your frustration there, and I think that's best probably to have in a closed session, and we can talk about that because it is collective bargaining agreement related. Those are ongoing conversations that probably are not best for the dais.
That's fine.
Council President?
Just to follow up, I was going to ask the same question, I guess. We're looking at the length of time that we're going to stand up this particular reprographics funding during this transition period. So I'm just concerned about, do we have any anticipation of closure on this department, or is it just out there?
Again, I think that that's probably best for a closed session that we talk in, what's it called again? Executive session. Thank you.
There you go. All right, any other questions on reprographics? All right, so go ahead. Insurance fund claims. Oh, I guess you did that. Insurance fund claims. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Director of Accounting Department Code Cleanup, Adam McDaniel.
Hey, council members, I have a couple of code cleanup items. The first one is a cleanup for the Director of Accounting when we were doing the appointment of Mr. Schmidt a couple of weeks ago. As Director of Accounting, we ran across a lot of instances in the code where it refers to the Director of Grants and Accounting or Accounting and Grants. Also, the department as the Accounting and Grants Department is actually just the Accounting Department. This cleans that up. Any question on that one? All right. And go to the second one?
Yep.
Okay. The second one is back in, I think, June, the council unanimously adopted Ordinance C 36696, which brought our ADU regulations in line with the state law. One of the tables in that ordinance was incorrect. What this ordinance does is correct that table. Any questions on this one?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Ordinance amending council meeting day. Mr. Wright.
Thank you. Yes, council members, most of you will recall that last fall when we were getting ready to adopt our council rules, we had discussions about whether or not to change the council meeting day from Monday to some other day. That issue was not resolved in the rules, but instead council elected to consider the issue during this year with a possible change effective January 26, 2026. This ordinance is just queued up to start that conversation and see whether there's an appetite at the council level to change the council meeting day. And right now the ordinance is blank. It doesn't have a new day in there, but you would have to do it by ordinance. So.
Thank you, Councilman Dan. We did leave this off last year. The time that it was brought up, I thought and agreed that it wasn't fair that we were trying to change horses in the middle of the stream. And so we thought we'd bring it back this year. This is just to introduce the conversation. Mr. Byrd has sent out a calendar of the days that we are off due to Monday holidays. At this time, I think it's 12 out of the month, and looking at how that affects how we do city business and the challenges sometimes of getting our ordinances or SBOs across the table. Also, anecdotally, for some council members and administration and community members, Monday can be challenging. When things come up at the last minute, how do we get it before the council and give everyone enough time to address it? So at this point in time, this is to start the conversation. We want to make sure if it goes anywhere, we want whoever the newly elected people are to know exactly what days council will be meeting on, so there will be no confusion going forward.
Go ahead.
I'll just put this shot out across the bow. Mondays and Fridays are the worst days, I think, for scheduling. So that's just my 2 cents. I think we should look at midweek. especially possibly Thursday and Friday if Councilmember Bingle continues to have a conflict. But I think it would be helpful to have a table out of those 3 days, where are the most community conflicts? And then also, I think we need to try to be quick about this and communicate it to the neighborhood councils, because there's a lot of neighborhood councils that meet on midweek days. And so we need to balance being able to attend those meetings and come to council.
Councilmember Dillon, I'll just say that Mr. Byrd has kind of put that schedule together and is willing to share it, and have also shared that with ONS for their input as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mind Mondays. We've been meeting on Mondays for, I think, as we figured out, over 100 years or around that. And I'm not somebody who thinks that because we've always done it one way, we should continue. But if it's not broke, you know, you don't need to, well, whatever the expression is, I can't remember now. Yeah, that's right. Exact. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Kliski. But anyway, I would like to know, though, if we are going to go down this road, what does that engagement process look like? Because it is more than just community assembly and neighborhood councils that have conflicts, and it's others than council members as well. Obviously, there are a lot of civic-minded individuals who want to participate in our meetings and be present, who may have other things during the weeks and things that they would need to have some understanding of, or have the ability to offer input into this date change. So we'd just like to know what that looks like, what the timeline would look like if there was going to be a change, and just what that process just overall looks like.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd ask the top 10, top 20 biggest cities in Washington State, what day do they all meet?
I don't remember now, but I think Tuesdays are common. I think I did some research a while back on that, but I don't remember what days were most common. I wouldn't say it was Monday. So.
Okay.
That's a good question. Go ahead.
I think that the fundamental question that we need to ask the community is, how frustrated are you with the number of meeting cancellations we have versus conflicts with other things, and just make a values-based decision on that. I think that, you know, school closures are part of the concern for me. I moved my daughter into a different school that doesn't close as much on Mondays because of this, partially. And, but most people are in District 81. And so that's one issue. But the other issue, we get a lot of complaints when we cancel meetings. So do we know if that's a community-wide sentiment or if it's just a few people? I don't know. But that's, I think, the other concern.
Go ahead.
Mr. Wright, how often do we as a body have to meet?
I think generally weekly under the charter, but I don't know if there's a minimum.
Does it
I
say
can check into
weekly,
that.
or
I
is
don't
it
have a
that
ready
we
answer.
can meet bi-weekly?
Pardon?
Because if we could meet bi-weekly, that would eliminate that need as well, because if we're, you know, skipping one a month, and then you add council recesses and things like that, we're basically meeting every other week anyway, except for a stretch from, you know, March to whatever. Would it not make more sense, or would it make sense for us to maybe go to a bi-weekly meeting?
I'm not sure but what your requirement is. I think the charter says something about weekly regular meetings. I have to go back and look and see how hard and fast that is. So.
Yeah, the charter specifically says that we'll meet at the time and place fixed by ordinance, but must hold regular weekly meetings unless prior notification of the meeting cancellations provided. So I think effectively you could establish weekly meetings and then you sort of pre-cancel every other, whatever that looks like. So.
Yeah, we have had some special Thursday sessions. I remember when I first started, we were doing that more common for some specialty items that did have a urgency on them.
And I think that's the point that I'm trying to get at, is that there are mechanisms for us to, if there are times where really important work needs to be done, then we can accommodate that without switching a meeting date, without doing that. Because if we switch the meeting date, again, it's not just us and it's not just staff. There are a number of community organizations that have built their schedules around us. Now, will they adjust? Absolutely. But now we start asking, again, tens of thousands of people as opposed to you know, a couple thousand people to adjust. And I think that becomes a much more arduous process for the community. Again, as Councilmember Cathcart, having a Biden moment there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know the thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that there are other ways that we can accommodate urgent business rather than switching the meeting date.
Okay, so Thursdays doesn't have the same ring to it? Is that what you're saying? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and just really quick to piggyback, the Spokane Valley, I think they do it that way. Every other week is a study session, and then the other week is their actual council meeting. That seems to work for them. Obviously, they're a little bit of a smaller jurisdiction, but I think we do all the same things, and we could certainly make that work. The other thing is we could do a much better job, I believe, of how we schedule voting on various items. Obviously, there would have to be some level of deference from council members who have their own items that they wish to have voted on particular timelines, but we could be, just as a council body, smarter about where we place those on the calendar so that we're not having, controversial things butting up against each other, that sort of thing.
Any other discussion? All right, thank you all. Looking forward to this process and see how it plays out. All right, public rule, you're up again.
Thank you. Council has heard me mention this project a number of times in the past, and you finally have it in your packet, a rather lengthy ordinance that would address public rules. And I want to point out initially that even though it's 20 plus pages, the guts of this ordinance is really pages 4 through 9. It establishes a new process. Everything else in there before and after is intended to conform the current code provisions relating to rulemaking to this process. So I don't know if Councilmember Bingle wanted to interrupt.
I just have a number of thoughts on this, if that's okay.
Are you?
I have a lot more to say if I can finish.
I was just letting him know I wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I'll tackle the one thought I know Councilmember Bingle has, which is, why develop a process for public rules and why not just simply, forbid them altogether? And I have some sentimental attachment to that idea. My starting point here was I was concerned about the lack of clarity around public rules. What defines a public rule? When departments were authorized to create a public rule, what is a public rule? What was the process, which is fairly vague right now? Sometimes they're distributed internally, maybe they go to the public, maybe there's a hearing, maybe there isn't. And all I was trying to do by this ordinance was establish a process that was akin to what we do at the state level in the development, how the state tackles the administrative code. By the same token, I was also concerned that there was not any consistency in the code about authorizing our departments to issue a public rule. We have this administrative policy, but that's not us saying to our departments that you can do a public rule. At the state level, you don't get to make a rule unless the legislature says you have rulemaking authority. And that was the same concept I had here. Authorize our departments to do rules, make sure that the authorization was consistent, make sure that the process was consistent, and that there was public input and opportunity to that rule before it became final. That's what's aimed at in this ordinance. Now, you could argue, as Councilmember Bingle might, that it'd just be simpler to prohibit public rules outright. We may hear back from the administration that their preference is not to have any public rules rather than have this process, and we can wait to see how that plays out. But for now, the process I've outlined is that a department would develop a rule, file it with the clerk, put out a notice to in the Gazette and to interested parties, indicate in that notice when council is going to be taking up that rule, and then put it through the usual committee process, eventually be approved by council by resolution. Earlier drafts actually had a lighter touch at the council level where it would just be filed with the council at committee, and then it would only and then it would become final unless council members pulled it from committee and put it on the legislative agenda for special consideration. Legal pointed out that created a sort of a dichotomy, if you will, because some rules might be approved by default, and others would be approved by resolution, and that was not a good practice. They were also a little concerned about open meetings requirements and having council do something by default rather than by deliberation. So some of those issues played into my attempt to find a balance between a heavy council regular touch, committee, agenda review, final agenda, and something short of that. This one simply puts it on the council agenda, and council would approve it by resolution. Is that better or worse for the department? Hard to say. But I can say emphatically that we need something to clean this up. Public rules are, let me back up a little. The Public Works Department, utility rates, and those folks are very good about bringing public rules to the council. They do it regularly. They're rather accustomed to it. But even their process is not necessarily well-defined in terms of public hearing process and things like that. But they do a pretty good job of bringing it to council. Public Works is accustomed to that. I would simply be saying that under this ordinance, that every department would do it. In my memorandum to council, which is in the packet, which I circulated on Friday, I give you a couple examples where we had public rules that were not denominated a public rule. I felt that that was a problem too. So I think that's the extent of my comments for now. So.
Yeah, and I think that there is some sort of balance that needs to be had between the policies that we do and then giving administration the ability to set, administrative policy. And I think we've delegated that well. I think there are some clear and obvious differences between us and the state. The state meets for a few months a year, whereas we meet every week right now, or at least the weeks that we're actually meeting, we meet every week. And so I don't think it's that they need the ability to implement policy for a substantial amount of the year that they can't bring before the legislative body in this instance. And so I think that's a key difference. And then for us, the public rules have been, as you said, Public Works has been great about bringing them to us so that we can approve. And if that's going to be the case anyway, why even have the process of a public rule? Just make them all ordinances. We just pass them that way. Public rule process is confusing for many. I mean, this really started coming up, a couple of years ago where we're like, what the heck even does,
Under GFCs.
Yeah, exactly. And so to me, it just makes more sense that if we're going to do this, if we're going to have to approve them anyway, why call it a public rule? Just have it be an ordinance. Unless we're mandated to have public rules, to me, it doesn't make sense to have them. Just adopt everything by ordinance, especially if we're going to make them come before us anyway, because I think legal brought up some good points about OPMA and approving things by default. I think that all makes a ton of sense. And so for me, public rules, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but public rules are they're a wart I think should be removed. But
Councilmember Dillon, can I just briefly respond to that?
Of course.
One thing I would say is that I think the preference to use public rules is to, particularly when you have a lot of detailed rate setting and stuff like that, that you not clutter up the code with items that are going to change on a regular basis, and that, if you're going to go to ordinance, you would anticipate that an ordinance would stay in effect for a number of years or many, many years, and not something that gets changed frequently. And so by rulemaking, that's what you're hoping to accomplish is more regular changes done by a different process than by ordinance.
yeah, and I think that's fair, makes a lot of sense. Is that not something we can just call an appendix, and then every appendix gets updated every year as opposed to necessarily a public rule? I mean, it's still part of the ordinance, but then as we're referencing by code, it can see Table A, which we do all the time, or Appendix B or whatever. I mean, whatever it is, I understand the point. It just, I think, is more confusing for the general public than helpful.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's much of a difference without a distinction in doing it that way. It's still kind of a public rule thing. It's just you're calling it an appendix, I suppose. What I like about this, and I'm semi-ambivalent when it comes to whether or not we do it through ordinance or public rule. I agree with Chris that it does make some sense to do a public rule where you're going to have a whole lot of detail and things like that. Council shouldn't get into the minutia too deep, and a lot of times we don't want to anyway, and so doing it this way is probably the easier route. But that being said, it's got to have, and I think Chris has done a pretty good job. There's still some tweaks that I would like to see, but Chris has done a really good job, I think, putting this together. It's just got to have a really good, strong public process around it so that those who are being impacted, because that's the idea, is that a public rule is going to impact folks in the public, that they are fully aware that this is coming, they know when to show up or to whom they need to share their concerns or support. And so making sure all that is very, very clear, I think is really, really important. I also am glad that we would actually be voting on these and it's not going to be a by default situation because for some of the reasons and others, I didn't like that concept. And so I think this does give some opportunity, but the things that give me a little pause, and I don't know if it's how it got in the final version there exactly, but timing. So if an ordinance passes and the ordinance goes into effect in 30 days, but there's 60 days for rulemaking, then in that 30-day period, what exactly happens? And so this does authorize emergency rulemaking that would have to come to council for approval right away. But in theory, like we're in this situation, frankly, right now, we have a camping law without any rules. I've requested them, haven't gotten them, so I don't believe they've been written. And so what do you do? You know, basically the way you're implementing that ordinance is supposed to be based on what those rules say, but if you don't have those rules, then what is that situation? What's the solution to that sort of situation? I don't know the answer, but we want to avoid those. And so to me, we should try as much as possible to avoid having ordinances go into effect that require rulemaking until that rulemaking is either ready or we've got that sort of figured out in advance. So that's my biggest concerns here, is making sure the public has their opportunity to state their case and that we're not rushing things too quickly.
Thank you. Yeah, and I would just kind of chime in, I think echoing that from maybe the language of the public rule itself to that hearing or whatever that looks like, because I know with WAC changes, I've testified them before where they would have a quarterly meeting and, okay, here's the different changes, show up, here's kind of the slate as different laws are going into effect, but you understand the gist and this is your chance to kind of help shape that for implementation. So that could be a kind of component to help address that. If you do it all in one, if we're doing this on the dais, if there's another mechanism to have that public feedback, I think that would be good too to consider. So, all right, thank you. All right, resolution appointing and reappointing equity subcommittee members. Alex Jablisco, thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, Council. I am here bringing forward 4 new nominees to the Equity Subcommittee and reappointing 4 nominees to continue serving the Equity Subcommittee. In 2024, Council asked us to identify term limits for Equity Subcommittee members, and they landed on 3 years, so being a good length of terms for them to serve. So we just wanted to provide them some guidance on what to expect and how long they were going to serve. The 4 members that are new to that are being nominated are Patricia Castaneda, Sebastian Ruiz, Nagmana Shirazi, and Luke Coben. Any questions?
Have any of them previously served on the
the Equity Subcommittee? No, they haven't.
Okay.
You said 4 being reappointed?
Yes.
Who are those 4?
Yeah, the 4 is John Alder, Sarah Dixit, Kiana McKenna, and KJ January.
And so when do their terms expire then? Is it the end of this year or when?
We put it for like June 28th. That was kind of arbitrary month that we had chosen. So we're trying to keep it more consistent towards June. So I guess June 2025.
So their term expired in June, and now they're being re-upped?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Any other additional questions for Alex? All right, thank you. Well, actually, I think we have you up for a staff report.
Okay, perfect.
Well, actually, sorry, we'll do the, we'll come back to you. We'll do the boards and commission updates first.
Okay.
All right, council office operations work group. I was sadly absent for the
You were
last one.
sadly absent, and we are meeting this week, so I have no report.
Okay, there we go. Equity subcommittee.
We'll have Mr. Jablisco back up here shortly to give us an update, and we just submitted new members.
Okay, fiscal impact work group, not met. This might be part of our bigger kind of board and commission cleanup. Language access work group.
Study session last week was
study session.
all about.
Legislative committee, we bounced that, but I know that we're going to be talking about federal agenda updates. Investment committee have not met. SIRS board.
SIRS board, I wasn't able to make the last meeting there, but the agenda wasn't anything crazy, just continuing retirements, deaths, that sort of thing.
Sounds good. Aging and long-term care.
Happy to report we just did our state audit with a clean bill of health, so we're ready for next year.
Sounds good. AWC board, I know Councilmember Zappone is absent. Fire pension, we meet quarterly, so no meeting in August. Lodging tax advisory committee.
So those funds come in, and we'll be meeting in the fall. Applications will be arriving for activities support throughout the city.
Okay. We'll skip TACI with Councilmember Zappone gone. Launch Northwest.
I don't think we've met yet this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, police pension also.
Quarterly meeting, we have not had a meeting, and I'll just jump ahead. The University District will be having a board retreat coming up here and also voting in new board members.
Sounds good. Councilmember Klitsky, Spokane County Veterans Advisory Board.
That only meets quarterly.
Okay, Councilor Zappone is gone. Keep scrolling down. Visit Spokane. Councilor Zappone's also gone. West Plains.
We are in the process of recruiting for a new board member and excited to have the new CEO of the airport join us. We'll be coming forward. I believe I'm going to have them come before council with their plans for the West Plains S3R3 and the partnership what the airport looks like, especially around the transload facility in the West Plains and what those opportunities look like.
West Plains is changing every day to go through. All right, Northeast PDA.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing right now, and this affects S3R3 as well, is the city's changing the methodology apparently with how we are remitting the tax dollars that are collected, and it's a huge concern. There's been an established methodology between the city and the county that goes back a couple of years, 2 years I think now, and this is a sudden change with zero communication to the PDA, so it's a very frustrating situation that we're dealing with. It's actually putting some projects in harm's way. We may have to make some very, very challenging decisions as a result. I today, on an emergency basis, requested all of the data that they're basing this on because I need to have an understanding of what's going on. But it is fundamentally potentially going to have a very negative effect on the PDA's ability to do the job they're supposed to be doing. So more to come, but working to figure that whole thing out.
And I'll just echo Councilmember Keck. That's happened with all the PDAs, not just the Northeast, but the West Plains and the U District as well.
Thanks for that update. All right, Kate Fairborn, if you want to come on down, Council Budget Director.
Well, thank you, Chair and Council President, Council members, for having me here today. While our attention is definitely honing in on the biennial budget adjustments that we're looking at, today I wanted to just do a really quick overview of the state auditor's most recent report. It was reviewing our 2024, so it's backward looking. However, as you'll see, there are a lot of indicators that he highlighted and his team that I think will be instructive as we head into the 2026 biennium. So, great. We can just go ahead to the next slide, Ginny. Thank you. Oh, I can do it? Is it hidden?
It's disappeared on us before, so no worries.
I was like, where is it? There we go. I went too far now. Okay. Nope, it's great. It's operator error here. I'm going at both places. Well, so the auditor overall continued to assign a concerning designation to the city's overall fund outlook. That's been the case since at least 2021, so I'm not here to raise any red flags over that. Of course, we would have preferred good over concerning. And what I've done here is just taken, there's good, there's cautionary, there's concerning. Those are kind of your options. Good, it means they had benchmarks, we hit those benchmarks or exceeded those benchmarks. Cautionary generally means you did not hit the benchmark for that year. Concerning, and the definition of cautionary and concerning actually varies depending on what measure, but just in general, concerning is you missed your benchmark this year and it may not be the first year, or that there's an overall trend that you're missing the benchmark seems to be part of. So that's just kind of as a broad overview when we're looking at those terms, what they'll mean. So in the enterprise funds, you can see from this that 2 funds fell from the cautionary zone down to the concerning zone. All the governmental funds, we had 4 good, yay, and 1 that was concerning. In the general fund, 1 of our funds fell from good to cautionary, and overall, we still have 15 funds that are rated good. So it's overall good news, I would say. However, we do have 5 that are concerning, which is not great, and 1 that is cautionary. Okay, there we go. This is probably easier if you look at your June financial or your July financials report, the budget report. You'll have this, and so you can kind of delve into it. I was trying to come up with a way of distilling the rather voluminous report from the state auditor into a graphical format. What each of these does is it takes the key indicators, financial indicators the auditor uses to measure the health of the general fund. And so you'll have, say, the fund balance sufficiency in days. The little black boxes in the corner represent the average of cities in Washington. So the average city in Washington in that first blue box has 218 days of funds available. If they just stopped getting all revenue in and needed to spend it down, they'd have 218 days. The city fell from 98 in 2021, 98 days, to 39 days from 46 the prior year. So that is in the concerning category. The benchmark is 60 days. So we not only are not in the 60-day benchmark, but we are, as you can see, in a downward trend. So the auditor assigned a concerning rating to our fund balance sufficiency in the general fund. The change in the fund equity, that's the percentage change in our ending balance. The average is 3.8. We were at negative 11.9. The benchmark is 0. So, and again, that was a fall from last year, and we actually were above the benchmark, so concerning. Fund sustainability, the average is 9.1%. We are at 9.5. The benchmark is 0. We're just in cautionary just because we're on the downward slope. But as you can see, it's not disrespectable, the numbers that we had on the fund sustainability. The last one's something called a current ratio, and that is a measure that the auditor's office uses to show how many times the assets that you currently hold could cover your current liabilities. And the state average is 12. We were at 4.1. Benchmark is 1. We fell a little, but overall it's good. So that was not a bad showing for the general fund. In assessing the overall fund health, the auditor lowered 2 enterprise funds from cautionary to concerning, dropped 1 general fund measure from good to cautionary, and in totem, the all funds indicators were mostly good, as we saw on the very first bar graph slide, though the auditor found that the state of the all governmental funds at the city to be concerning. So again, that's that concerning overall. Oh, I skipped, I'm sorry. See if that'll go back. Okay. Looking at each fund's individual scores, of the 25 funds measured, only 15 earned the good designation overall. And again, if you want, I'm happy to walk through any of the details on these that you'd like. Just thinking about it. Great. So the other concerns the auditor raised, he specifically highlighted the solid waste fund. The cash balance sufficiency is less than 60 days. It was 50 versus 141 in 2021. The cost recovery is less than 100%. It's only 98%. It's not too far off from the benchmark of 100%, but it was 107 in 2021. I would say it's great that it's up from 93% in 2023, the prior year. I think that's where we're starting to reap the benefits of the rate increases that we went through. I would put on your radar that we need to be watching whether or not we are covering costs in our enterprise funds, even after last year's rate increase. I mean, that happened, I guess, 2 weeks after I started in this job. So the other one that the auditor highlighted is development services. Their cost recovery is at 96%. That's fallen significantly from the 107%. It's below the benchmark. However, the current ratio for the development services is still healthy, but it's had a significant fall, even though it's well above the benchmark of 0 at 8%. It was at 18%. So development services is another area, as we're looking at the budget, we may just want to keep a keen eye on. Finally, the water division. The only thing highlighted there was the leverage ratio. The debt load of 10.8% exceeds the state average, which is 10.3%. It was not specifically flagged by the auditor, but it is certainly something I wanted to put on your radar as something we should probably just be watching. So. Great.
Great. Any questions for Kate?
I told you it'd be quick.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions for Kate? All right, I appreciate it.
Great.
All right, Jacoby.
Thank you, Chair Dillon, Council President, Council members. Thanks for your time today. I am going to update you on a couple quick things from my side of the house operationally. We are forming an ad hoc budget work group out of our ops members. So Council President, Councilmember Dillon, and Councilmember Cathcart have agreed for this mid-biennial budget cycle to volunteer to be part of a regular budget work group. We're going to start meeting every other week, starting in 2 weeks, I believe. And Mr. Boston has graciously agreed to meet with us in those spaces. On the off weeks, I'm working with Kate to get on the other 4 of your calendars and make sure that she's updating you on those conversations, as well as soliciting questions from all 7 council members on those interim weeks. So we're going to try to do this kind of every other week cycle where we collect questions, do Friday 1 week, circulate those to Matt and his team so that they can come prepared, kind of structure those other week meetings with the budget work group on those topics, and maybe go by department. We'll kind of figure that out in the first couple of weeks, what that's going to look like. Probably in our next round of board and commission updates in January, I'll ask that we just recognize a budget work group formally, whether it be the ops members or others. I think it's important to kind of have our 3 council member team assigned to that topic. So timing of budget, I have been working with Jessica Stratton and her team to kind of set out a roadmap from September through November for budget adoption. This is an eye chart. I know I sent an email to help desk just today to get big tablets right in front of you so that when I'm sharing information here, we'll have big tablets on your desk and you can zoom in and engage with it, hopefully, and even telestrate. But I will circulate this via email. Just wanted to make sure I was bringing it to your attention now, that this is kind of the proposed timeline with a bunch of things happening in the background, notes on when things are going to be uploaded to OnBase, when you're going to set hearings for certain things. That highlighted date right there of the October 27th is when the mayor plans to propose her mid-biennial modifications to you all at FNA. Our proposed timeline has you all adopting the budget on November 17th. It's a bit ambitious. It gives you about a week and a half from that formal presentation at committee to adoption. It puts our budget amendment deadline November 3rd. It's very, very quick. I do have an extra buffer Monday, November 24th, planned out in the event that we don't hit that deadline. We do have an extra week. This is all kind of built around Councilmember Lambdin's attendance for her participation in adoption of the budget. Once the election is certified, November 25th, the new member will come on. So quick rundown. Go ahead, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, one thing that we had mentioned, and obviously it would take the agreement of the 5 of the council, but the potential for just a blanket rule suspension to allow amendments to be brought forward later than the 3rd, because we may not get all of the budget data before the 3rd. So we'll need that extra time, and that would allow us all to better participate in that.
Yeah, I'll connect with each of you individually on your appetite for that. I think, I'll work with Mr. Wright and how procedurally we would do this, but at a ledge meeting in the future, you all could make a motion to suspend the rules related to timing of amendments only for the mid-biennial budget adjustments, and you could set a new deadline of maybe the Friday before that November 17th meeting, or whenever we can kind of coalesce around an alternative date that makes sense for everybody, or not. I mean, you could just hold yourself to the 3rd, and then anything submitted after that would create an automatic deferral of the ordinance from the 17th to the 24th, which kind of lands us on that buffer date naturally. But we can have that conversation.
And then just one quick thing, we hadn't really talked about it, but we had added, I think, at least one extra sort of hearing last year, and it seems like it might make sense to just put a placeholder hearing, maybe starting on the 27th.
Yeah.
And running through when we adopt the budget.
Yeah, I'll talk to Aaron Haugen about that, and maybe we can, start on the 27th or whenever the budget is formally presented to you all, and just work through your adoption of it.
And Mr. Byrd,
yeah.
I think that we also discussed, if necessary, we could call a special meeting on a Thursday, somewhere in that calendar, if necessary.
Yeah, if necessary. It's always an option. But that's my ambitious kind of timeline for us. And I look forward to those budget work group meetings and the productivity of those. Did you have something on that, Mr. Breen?
On budget work group, yeah. So budget work group in the past hasn't exactly included all of the council members in the discussions that were happening. And so what I would request with the budget work group is after it's met, then maybe we meet with the other council members who aren't on it, because one of my 2 main jobs is the budget, and I would love to be updated more regularly on the things that we're discussing as a body.
Absolutely. I'm going to work with Kate on getting on all of the council members' calendars regularly on those off weeks. So the budget work group's going to meet week 1. We'll meet with you week 2. Keep on going on that kind of timeline until you guys adopt it. Lastly, council rules are back on my and Chris's radar. I just wanted to let you all know that we have a meeting between Mr. Wright and myself to kind of kick off that long list of items addressing kind of some of the concerns that were raised throughout the year, including what happens with amendments, timing around holidays or weeks off, dealing with abstentions just recently, just all, that long list of items that we've been gathering throughout the year. Chris and I are going to meet next week and start tackling that. I'm hoping that we'll take kind of a list of suggested changes to ops in September, and then kind of shop those around to you all before I bring them to committee in October, and then we'll have a big gap. I'll just plan for adoption in December, early December, but we'll have some time between committee presentation and adoption to continue workshopping and proposing amendments. Lastly, phase 1 of the new public sign-up is going well. We're still workshopping some of the details behind the scenes, where I can manage some details of registration. It's built so that we can have that pro-con and other option built in phase 2. I'm hoping that phase 2 work will start in the next couple of months. I'm going to be meeting with Rick, talking about how we get this testimony sign-up form to start at the committee level. And that kind of opens up that conversation of, well, what do these items look like on the website from committee through adoption? And that's where we get into the conversation about, engaging with a comment section, submitting your pro-con status. And so it's all about kind of where that lives on the website. So I think that's all I have for you today.
Just one more thing on that. I mean, that was a lot of work, and I know we've talked about it for a long time, but I think it should be celebrated, all the work that you did and everybody else did on that, because I thought it went really well for its first week, which is exciting. I'm excited to see how it can continue to happen and develop to better serve the public, which is obviously why we're doing it. And so, anyway, kudos to you, sir, and everybody who helped you. I thought it went really well.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I'll just make the plug here for those watching. Really encourage you to, when you register to sign up, to include an email address. I mean, this is the functionality of it that I'm most excited for moving forward. When you submit an email address, we're able to keep you up to date on whether the item was deferred, on whether it was amended, whether there are any changes or information you need to know about how to log in to testify virtually or otherwise. I think that having that email address is going to be really important.
Thank you. All right, Alex. Thank you, Jacoby.
I will try Jacoby's trick here in a second of sharing my computer. Good afternoon, Council. Quick updates. The Equity Subcommittee, we had the opportunity to introduce Councilmember Lambden. She participated there and able to share some of her ideas. We also hosted Caleb Stanton to talk about how we use an equity process around some of the ARPA funds and kind of what some of those outcomes were and some of the engagement that came out of that. And then also we got to introduce the nominees for the Equity Subcommittee. One thing I think we wanted to share was that I wanted to share is our council office's language access plan. But Jacoby, if you could stop sharing your screen. Let me see. Okay. Sorry, it wasn't him. Okay, it's not working, so I can email that to you here in a little bit. But really, we've identified the vital documents that council office is responsible for translating and interpreting. We identified those documents and then also other departments that kind of are intersected with some of the work that we're doing, and then outlined how many pages we have to translate and kind of who's responsible for doing that translation in the council office. After that, maybe refresh. After that, also want to share with you kind of the next phase into the implementation of how that's going to look like on our webpage. So we created a landing page that shares. Awesome. Let me share the whole window. So this is our language access plan, and this is the table kind of. I want to make sure I get this. Awesome. our plan and identified documents. The ones that are highlighted here in gray are the ones that the council office is directly responsible for. Kind of talks about the number of pages we're expecting to translate. What's unique about our office is that we do have the majority of our translations probably has to do a quick turnaround, and that's where the AI tool is going to come really handy. Some of the other translation items that we need to translate are, like our bylaws. We probably just have to do them once a year and get them verified to do that. Over the past year, we've also been piloting different strategies on how do we do interpretation at our council meetings and trying to streamline that. City Cable 5 does have Listen Everywhere, so that's an app that could potentially make it a little bit cheaper, so we don't have to pay interpretation services to come down with their devices, which brings an extra person in. So we're still trying to figure out what that's going to look like. And then, again, throwing this back out there, this is what we have submitted to Web. It's a simplified version. It's like a landing page talking about what council does and who works at council, and talks about our council agenda committees. This has been translated into 4 different languages. And so we're going to be working with Web to make sure that those come up. And then after they come up, we'll be working with staff on how to use the AI tool translation so we can create folders and people are able to access our committee agendas translated into those different languages. And at the bottom and at the end, it'll also be linked to our various council pages. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Alex? Go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick, just learning about all this work that's been going on in my first few weeks, I just wanted to give a shout out and kudos to you, Alex, and other members on the staff coming off of the study session last week, really seeing how council's leading by example in a lot of the language access and equity work.
Thank you. Yep.
Second that. All right. Well, thank you all, Alex. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Meeting adjourned.